Hello, everybody. Welcome to our official debate. We've been skirting around this for a very long time, but let's finally get down to the meat and potatoes of why, of which film is the better film, New Hope or Return of the Jedi. I am going to stand on my principles and say that New Hope is definitively better in pretty much every aspect except for one, which we will get into. But that's my position. I'm in the solid. Return of the Jedi is not a very good film that has a lot of problems, and that A New Hope is, even though there's some bad stuff in it, it's still better by quite a significant margin. Alrighty, Mr. Codex.
Also, the Wise Wolf is here. I haven't seen him in a while.
Oh yeah.
Oh hey Wolf, how you doing? It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Hello. You can join us if you want. It's an open invitation.
Yeah. Nothing necessarily wrong with that.
So
Anyway,
Codex, what's your position?
Sorry, what was I going to say?
Sorry.
Oh yes, okay.
Just reiterating.
I'm of the position, and it's probably the most unpopular take of this whole thing, that episode 4 is the weakest of the OT.
Okay.
Mainly due to the fact I think it has more structural problems, and while I do agree that Return of the Jedi does have some faults here and there, I do consider that to be much more of a stronger film than the simplicity of episode 4 specifically. That's my position in the matter.
Okay. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Alrighty, Mr. Raptor.
My position is A New Hope is a noticeable improvement in comparison to Return of the Jedi. It's I do have some level of bias towards it, mostly because it is my favorite Star Wars film. Even though Empire Strikes Back is better, it does have noticeable issues. However, it is more coherent, and the cause and effect of one plotline linked to the next makes a bit more sense compared to Return of the Jedi. And Return of the Jedi definitely has its redeeming plotline between Vader and Luke, but in my viewpoint, that's pretty much the only component of quality to the Return of the Jedi. Everything else surrounding it is very flawed, quite significantly so.
Okay. So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first?
Oh my god.
I did get my Discord hacked, so I don't know. Let me check.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me check and see.
Yeah, so we're gonna have 4 people, it seems. That'll be fun.
It does seem that way, yes. The more the merrier, I say.
I might not have your Discord anymore.
Oh dear.
So, yeah, you could just.
Well, his username is the same.
Okay.
Seems you can make a friend request.
Oh dear, Crimson Scorpio said, "You're breaking my heart. I'm bereft that I can't make this."
I'm really keen to know I'm really keen to know what his overall viewpoints of Andor are, because I don't know if he's finished season 1, and so far he seems to be liking it. To the episodes that he did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I probably should set a few ground rules, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay, this is primarily speaking just with the original trilogy in mind. This is without Disney canon specifically, and I think you all might know why. Mainly because it's just schizophrenic at best. Let's be matter of fact about that. All things considered. Obviously, no expanded material used, like any of the follow-up books and the like.
Yep.
Now, this might be a little bit contentious, and I will admit that, but I am going to use one possibly 2 deleted scenes from A New Hope to kind of make it a bit more presentable, if that makes any sense. I understand the legality behind that. I understand that, but when I get into that, you might see the reasons why, and it is mostly a fault with A New Hope specifically.
Okay. Alrighty. So
is that
yeah,
fair to say?
these are reasonable. Honestly, I have not read much EU material. I actually other than Dark Empire, the terrible one, the kind of weak one where Palpatine's clone comes back. That's the extent of my and a little bit of the Clone Wars. So I'm fine with just leaving it at the movies. And I'm giving a dispensation of a single deleted scene. I think that's fine. I think that the argument for why Return of the Jedi is a worse film than A New Hope is strong enough to hold up even without the deleted scenes. So did you have any other ground rules that you wanted to put in?
Hello, Wolf.
Yeah. I was.
It's been a long time.
It has been. And I'm not like I stick out for very long. I got about, I suppose like to bring up what to do with me. I do got a dog now.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, cute, adorable little pupper. Cute. But I suppose if nothing else, I'll offer up my opinion on which of the two are better. Because I did rewatch those as of recently, like about a year or so ago. Personally, if you ask me, I feel I'm not really sure which one I really would say was kind of better. Because I'd say A New Hope, a lot of flaws in A New Hope can come down to it was made first, and obviously was the start of the whole franchise, and also was made in the way that it was kind of a self-contained film. So a lot of the plot points that would later develop that feel a bit unconnected with the rest of the trilogy, with the rest of the entire saga, really. Like it send down from it being first installment weirdness. Because Return of the Jedi, but I feel as a standalone is a lot better. But if you put it up to the entirety of the saga, it does feel like the weakest one in the series. I feel like the weakest one, then it's comparable to even like Attack of the Clones plot stability wise. As with Return of the Jedi, I feel like a great conclusion to everything, but I can admit that a lot of it's I can't agree that it has some structural issues related to the fact that it tries to wrap up a lot of plot points that was left over from Empire Strikes Back a bit too fast within the full weight, except for Luke and his father, and well, how do I say? I feel it's very much the case. I feel like that a lot of the faults of Return of the Jedi can be chalked up to the fact it's trying to wrap that it doesn't put as much effort and time and love into wrapping up some of the plot beats that were left over from Empire Strikes Back that were set back there. But I can say that it's definitely a very strong conclusion, all things considered, and I think that would put it up above A New Hope in that regard.
I will say with Return of the Jedi, I definitely felt very satisfied at the end, but that's mostly because my investment was derived from Luke's dynamic with Vader. In terms of how the Empire was defeated, I was disappointed. That component I did not like. Pardon?
It is the best.
It was still rebel to be the Empire.
Much better.
Yeah, but it's mostly just like how the Empire was defeated.
I feel like the end of the Empire could feel a bit disappointing when you compare it to the wider amount of context and content that was given for post Return of the Jedi content in the EU. But I feel on its own, it's a fitting conclusion for basically the symbol of the Empire's tyranny and its head figure gone in one fell swoop.
Mm-hmm.
I
love the fact that
be pretty hopeful over.
I love the fact that Vader was responsible for killing Emperor Palpatine, and ultimately the second Death Star blowing. Yeah, I like that component. It's just the Ewoks.
I feel like the plot heaviness of Return of the Jedi, especially in re-releases, can seem a bit weird in context, but symbolically, it is absolutely apt and is worthy of praise. Is if anything, I'd say like the reshoot, including a special edition of Return of the Jedi, showing the plants that we've seen across the saga, celebrating his death, is
Yeah.
If anything, I'd call it, that's a worthy inclusion because it really does highlight just how oppressive the Emperor has been, how much he has
vast
ruined the galaxy.
Yeah. I will say it is unfortunate that the last line ever muttered by a Star Wars character in the original trilogy is Jar Jar saying, "We so free."
You can't confirm that's Jar Jar or not.
Considering Gungans noticeably sound different from Jar Jar, and that sounded very distinctly Jar Jar. I think it's
you
Jar
may never know.
Jar.
It could be. Remember, I'm going to tell you this something very simple that you might find horrifying, but Jar Jar has canonically had sex.
I am aware of this.
Wow.
So we're all know that could be his son. And I will like,
wait, so Darth Bing's doing a canon thing.
Well, in all honesty, considering how much George Lucas is pretty biased towards Jar Jar, it makes a lot of sense why he would include him at the end of the original trilogy because he's very petty.
I'll be honest, to some extent, I want more creators to be petty.
I'm extremely petty. I have put multiple people
in your books,
that I hate in my books because I've just given them multiple very horrendous deaths.
Just as gonna catch you up with y'all.
Venting my spleen, just as a way of venting my spleen.
And I heard it's not healthy for your spleen if you contain all that hatred.
That's true.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so in terms of like my main problems, I would say that a lot of them come down to the Jabba's palace scene makes no sense and is really, really stupid and relies on a lot of really weak writing in order for it to work.
Yeah, it relies on many intelligent characters such as Luke and Boba Fett to be morons in order for the ending of the first act to function.
Well, I would argue the fact that it's possibly been a few weeks, if not a couple of months, since Lando and Chewie went to Tatooine to find Han specifically. It's never actually stated how long, in film-wise, I should say, in universe specifically, how long it actually took. Granted, I will concede that, but primarily speaking, when it comes to Luke, he's trying to end this diplomatically speaking. He's trying to be, by and large, a Jedi in the sense of keeping the peace, so to speak. Especially, he doesn't want to cause a violent outcry about these things. But the thing is, I do argue the fact that it is necessary because it was kind of built up a little bit with Jabba, with Han and their interaction specifically. And of course, with the introduction with the bounty hunters in Empire, we kind of did need to see what happened to Han. Mostly, to be fair, where mostly the bounty hunters reside, where Jabba resides, and as much as it is kind of seems a bit pointless, it is world building specifically because Tatooine, specifically Jabba's palace, is the only. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I'm fine with the inclusion of Jabba in Jabba's palace. That's not the issue. The issue is how it's executed. Because Lando is extremely wealthy, and Luke just provides Jabba with very vague deliveries of wealth. You're going to be paid handsomely for delivering Han Solo to us. But the fact that he's not specific, it gives Jabba the impression that Luke is trying to trick him. And in fact, he is trying to trick him. So, in all honesty, it makes a lot more sense if Luke was very specific about a number, like, oh, like we can give you like 500,000 credits or like 1,000,000 credits. It'll be like worth like 4 times the amount that like Han Solo like was indebted towards you or something along those lines. But Luke never does that. He just says like, "Oh, we'll reward you for like giving Jabba to us," but they obviously have the wealth to do so. Like Leia's wealthy, Lando's wealthy. They obviously care about Han Solo, so it makes sense that they would contribute.
I mean, to be fair, I think a lot of Leia's wealth went up when Alderaan blew up, and to some extent, Lando was also on the run of the Empire. He just shot a bunch of the stormtroopers very openly in Cloud City. I don't think he has much left in the bank accounts.
Well, considering this is the future, and I imagine like there's be a lot of like digital currency associated with that.
Actually, not really.
Really?
No. Okay. So how credits actually work is that they're technically digital, but it's more like a key card currency.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about digital assets is that those can also be taken over when your ruling governance is a totalitarian state from the top down. And this includes control of the banks.
Mm-hmm. And to be fair, they never go into details about how credits work. As granted, this is more of an episode. This is more of an overall thing, to be fair, in the series. But they don't really go into details about that in episode 4 either. When Luke is selling his sand speeder, so to speak, they don't really do the same thing or go into details about this, which is a little bit shocking when Lucas's main strength is world building.
Mm-hmm. If Leia and Lando wouldn't be contenders, and what about Mon Mothma? She's the leader of the rebellion, and it makes sense that something would be that the rebellion would be heavily financed at this point, considering how many like members
it would be pulling from the. Sorry, you go on.
And on top of the fact that Han Solo played a vital role in the destruction of the Death Star, Mon Mothma would obviously know who Han Solo is. He would be one of the most infamous individuals within the rebellion. Of course, she would do everything she could to help save him. That's one avenue that the rebellion could have utilized to pay Jabba off.
I heard they could have done that. I think that's actually what Luke was trying to accomplish. I'd actually agree with you that Luke was did not handle that kind of well. He didn't state any numbers. I think as well, it's also supposed to reflect he's not quite experienced with all of this. He's still not quite as experienced with handling things diplomatically. This is actually his first genuine attempt at diplomacy in the series since we've seen him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
Sorry, going right back. I apologize.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is inferred that he's essentially like at the level of a Jedi Knight. I got the impression that roughly like a year passed in order for him to accumulate that amount of experience. On top of the fact that Lando said that like he was associated with certain battles with the rebellion against the Empire, giving the impression that a lot of time has passed.
Hmm.
And which also creates a minor issue revolving around the fact that why didn't the rebellion just come in but why didn't they initiate this plan sooner, I guess?
I mean, the entire plan is to basically heist out Han Solo from Jabba's palace, one of the most notorious crime lords on Tatooine. I will say a combination of two factors. A combination of two factors here can be best described as approach, because a lot of this is kind of left to, if we ignore the extended universe context, where you understand that the thing is Jabba is also part of a larger crime family that obviously would have
crime syndicate.
And
I also believe
it's
that
a mob family. It's a mob family. Let's be honest.
And considering the Empire had a pretty strong foothold in Tatooine and A New Hope, it makes sense that they would have like a small force to try to infiltrate it, because there might be some Imperial influence on Tatooine still. Like that part is fine.
Honestly,
it makes sense why they didn't just. Mm-hmm.
Honestly, we didn't really see much of an Imperial presence there. All the Imperial presence that we did see at A New Hope was from the orbiting Star Destroyer, who was chasing the
but considering the fact that
four over there.
Yeah, but considering the fact that they know that like the droids that were extremely valuable to the rebellion on Tatooine, and now they've kind of lost their way to, of course, like the main rebels. It makes sense that there would be a decent Imperial presence on Tatooine because you might assume that there would be a decent rebel network there, especially since this is the first place that Leia went to. So I don't think we needed to see any Imperials to infer that there would be Imperials near Tatooine. But that's just my perspective.
I wouldn't say that they knew that there was an Imperial rebel network here, considering the fact that they traced her here. Reminder, that's not, Tatooine was not really her destination. It was literally a habitat on the way. The escape pod was long. The Holodons with its life sign detected, assuming it to be a dummy. It's only later to discover that it was droid-filled.
Yeah.
Now, there was more alternative evidence that there's no way that this was that Tatooine was not their destination, but along the way. If it was their destination, then yeah. But implicitly, the shuttle's record, as stated by Leia, they were on their way to, I believe it was like Dantooine or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And, like they're on Diplomatic on their way. They intercepted her along the course here.
I don't believe that it was mentioned because I think the only instance where Dantooine was mentioned is when Leia tried to mislead Tarkin into thinking that's where the rebel base was located. I'm pretty sure their main intention was Tatooine, on at least like the tentative for like I guess navigational like charts say that like this is their main destination because Leia obviously wanted to get into contact with Obi-Wan Kenobi.
This is kind of weird relevance of the New Hope would actually have been useful.
Mm-hmm. But anyhow, one thing I will say about Luke's plan is, actually, I can hear myself a little bit through you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my damn headphones aren't connecting. I don't know what's going on. I only have one thing to say. A New Hope. Empire, not Empire, what's it called? Return it aged very badly. It aged very bad. We watched it recently and I hated it.
You're really roboting bad. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on
here. Maybe find some extra like headphones or something.
I don't think that's the issue. I think he just has crappy internet.
Maybe that could be the case as well. Anyhow,
trust me, bad microphone quality does not fix that. It's not a result of that. That is just you have a terrible mic.
Yeah, it's usually like this. Also, so initially, I am a little confused regarding why Luke would essentially allow R2-D2 to have his lightsaber if he was going to deploy him in Jabba's palace so early. And you think he would have told R2-D2 like where to be located when he initially appeared.
How's this?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, you sound a bit better.
Because
I don't know what happened there. Sorry.
Yeah, because when Jabba essentially utilizes the trapdoor to put Luke in the Rancor pits, I am confused regarding why R2-D2 wasn't present in that room because all Luke had to do really was just use the Force to retrieve like his lightsaber in that room, and that situation could have been handled a lot better. Because I doubt that he was anticipating for him and Han Solo and all his friends to get captured, minus Lando, because Lando hasn't been discovered yet. In order for them to act,
he also just happens to be on the trapdoor.
Yeah, that is a little.
Okay,
well,
so
the thing is that.
So you can't actually say he happened to be on the trapdoor as a plot is actually a bad thing because the fact that he has a trapdoor all means that Jabba tends to put his guests there. If people are trying to speak to him, you'd always want to put him in a position he has leverage over.
Yeah, they probably nudged him or forced him to be in that particular area because it may seem out of disrespect of Jabba. In reality is because if Jabba doesn't like you, he can just flip the switch and boom, you're Ranko.
My bosses do that all the time. They always put you in a position where you are at your most vulnerable in case they decide to off you then and there. And it's
But
almost
ultimately-
always front and center, where like two
Yeah,
guys
but-
easily get a shot off on you without you even really knowing.
Yeah, because ultimately I'm just a little confused regarding what Luke was trying to plan, how Luke was trying to plan this out with R2D2. You think he would have like told R2D2 to at least be in that room when he occurs, so when he arrives, so that way he can shoot lightsaber there.
Well, I would argue the fact that it's more or less out of his control because he was put on the sailing barge half the time, or the majority of the time before that scene happened. But like I said before, he's trying to end this more diplomatically. He doesn't really want to resort to the lightsaber because the lightsaber is
Well, the thing is that when
use
he
of the last
first
resorts, and I would assume, and he probably assumed as well, that the Force would. Sorry, go on.
Well, when he initially arrived at Jabba's
No,
palace,
Raptor?
the first thing he did, the first thing Luke did when he arrived at Jabba's palace is essentially force choke a bunch of Gamorrean guards, though. I don't think that's a very good first impression to make.
Yeah, I think the main reason why you didn't want to get his lightsaber out then and there is because otherwise that would have turned from the I can somehow still salvage the situation into, well, I'm going to be killed on sight now. Because when you consider that a lot of the people in Jabba's palace are heavily armed, the lightsaber is basically a declaration of, okay, everybody dies, either stops now or dies.
All he has to do is just threaten Jabba's life because he's so close to him and force him to release Han Solo if he realizes that things are not turning out very well diplomatically at all.
I'd still point out that's actually a terrible idea. The last thing you want to do in a room full of guys who are kind of hired by the boss you're trying to negotiate with is to threaten the boss with one weapon.
Well,
that doesn't get everybody. Like if it was a bomb, then absolutely you want to do that because you could comfortably assure that at that distance, we're both going out.
I disagree because of how trained Luke is at this point. And it's obvious that a lot of Gamorrean guards wouldn't really I imagine Boba Fett would be the best soldier that Jabba has. I think he's the only bounty hunter that's in that room when Luke arrives too. All there really is just some pirates, well, not necessarily pirates, but mostly just some trained gunmen, Gamorrean guards, and
I also point out that I'd also argue that Luke has a lot more to lose because it's also everybody that's captured there. Leia's literally right next to Jabba.
Which is another which is another issue because I don't think that he should have allowed Leia and Chewbacca to arrive in Jabba's palace. That seems like a pretty contrived plan. I don't think it's considered. Why
Leia specifically.
Yeah, we don't see how Chewie got in there. It could kind of be implied that he was actually there the longest compared to everybody else alongside Lando because he went out with Lando to try and get Han back. So it could actually be that it was part of a prior attempt to get Han out stealthily, and that did not go as planned. And that's what actually.
Well, the thing is if they didn't know about each other's plans, then wouldn't it be really convenient that they just have to initiate their plans literally a day or two in between?
And again, we don't really know how much time has passed between each subsequent plan.
Yeah,
and also may argue that it's kind of if there's really, I don't think Leia's attempt was actually part of the plan at all. She did that herself.
Well, I imagine a short amount of time would have occurred because Luke initially sends his droids to Jabba for negotiations. Things don't really end very well from there. And then afterwards, Leia arrives. So it's a little weird that Luke would take so long to get back to Jabba, even though he knows that he sent those droids. What would Luke be doing all that time? I imagine it would be pretty short.
Not that as well, there is also the chance that he was actually communicating with R2D2 while he was inside Jabba's palace. One moment, hang on.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, if you rewatch all three movies today, you'll notice that the quality significantly goes down with Return of the Jedi.
I find just the green screen.
Well,
The
just
green screen
overall
Jedi-
quality. Not just that, not just visuals. Like, you gotta keep in mind, different era, but it just doesn't flow very well. It doesn't flow very well at all, and that's one of my biggest factors to if I like something. Like, does it flow well? Does it make sense? Does it have a does it work? I don't know how to explain it. All these intricate things that connect narratives together. But yeah, recently me, Raptor, Wissia, we watched the trilogy, and long story short, I summed it up as A New Hope was, I think I gave it a 6 out of 10. It wasn't as good as I remembered it. 7, gotcha. Okay. It wasn't as good as I remembered it, but it wasn't terrible. Empire was way better than I remembered it. It was amazing. I gave it a 10 out of 10. It was a perfect movie. And Raptor, you probably remember I was groaning the entire time through Return of the Jedi. Except for the Vader and Luke scenes, I loved those. And I gave that a 4 out of 10. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well,
Yeah,
no, I should clarify
Scorpio.
one thing. I'm not saying that.
Sorry,
Okay,
Scorpio Codex. I
Scorpio?
apologize.
Yeah, it's
Hey, how's it going?
like I said, I'm not saying that.
Hello.
I'm not, no matter what I'm going to say about this whole thing, they are still a solid trilogy throughout this whole thing. No matter what I'm going to say exactly, they are still a solid trilogy. But
Oh yeah, all three are still better than the Disney ones. It's not even close.
oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Let's be real here.
I mean, that's one of the things I did say about this whole thing. One of the things I will say against episode 4, we don't really see how the plans were taken specifically.
Well, we get
Which
the
is why
opening
Rogue One was
because
made.
that opening- Well, we understand enough from
No,
the
I'm
opening
not saying
crawl.
Disney canon.
We understand
I would
enough
argue
what
you
happened
might
with
need to see.
Gotcha.
I would argue you might need to see at least how they got them, at least, because in some, okay, it's not expanded media. It's more like more so the novelizations and some of the audio dramas they've done. They did give an explanation of where they come from, because the reason why the 10C4 was used, as well as R2D2 and a little bit of C3PO, but to be fair, it's mainly R2 really, was that they were using a skyhook where another planet was transmitting the plans to them, and it just basically just ran out of Dodge. Really,
Well,
I mean, it's
all we
very
know
simple
from
scene.
the-
It's very sorry.
Yeah, well, all we know from the opening crawl is the fact that Leia's ship was in restricted territory, and the rebel spies transmitted the plans to, well, the Titan 4. That's all we really know. So that it kind of implies that there was a pretty large rebel influence surrounding that area. Otherwise, how could they really accomplish this grave task?
That's the
And
thing.
they managed to get out very briefly afterwards. But overall, it's fine as is. It's a fine foundation. It's not great, but it's not bad. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
It's functional.
I also think that I think that to kind of be fair to Return of the Jedi, the Yoda scene is a very good ending for his character.
Yes.
yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Everything
Yeah.
involving Force users in Return of the Jedi is actually the good stuff.
Yeah. To add
Also-
to my praise,
By the way, my ambient
Vader,
is-
Luke.
Sorry, Excellent. Wait, Scorpio,
My bad.
your audio is being really wonky.
Yeah, if my ambient noise is too bad, just mute me.
Okay.
I'm driving.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, no worries.
Vader, Luke, and Yoda. Those three were the highlights of Return.
Palpatine was also a highlight.
Oh yeah.
And it has one of
Forgot how
the base
awesome he
files throughout
was.
the entirety of the OT.
I mean, yeah.
Okay, I'm
C-3PO
back.
is also
I'm
pretty
actually
cool.
gonna hop off now.
Oh, okay.
See you later, man.
You're on your own,
Take care,
Codex.
man. All right, see ya.
I will say, regarding Leia's plan, at least, it's very confusing regarding why she decided to essentially dethaw him. right then and there while she's still in Jabba's palace, you think that she would have just transported Han's carbonated like portrait away from Jabba's palace and then defrosted him or dethawed him.
I would assume
because that would have created a lot of
assume
noise, especially since she's surrounded by people who are asleep, and she does not whisper when she communicates to Han Solo at all.
Yeah, we did notice that when we were watching it.
She's really loud.
Yeah, I will concede that. I will concede that point. They're not really being loud, but I would say the main reason why she defrosts him is, I think it's just, to be fair, it's easy to transport a human being and try to get them out of there as steady and easy as possible than just taking literally a break.
Well,
and there probably wasn't any hover technologies there to carry the carbonite Han.
Well, we understand that it can cover from at the end of Empire Strikes Back. That's how they were able to successfully transport Han into the Imperial shuttle, or well, no, into this Slave One.
Slave One.
Yeah. So it can hover.
Yeah, no. Well, I think you guys are looking for like a Doyleist or Hodgian explanation, right? Or not a Hodgian, Holmesian a Watsonian explanation, right? The reason is you want the character, right? You want the character and the actor on screen. That's why it's written like that.
That is true. That's how it works in film.
Yeah. Like George Lucas isn't like, he wants Harrison Ford acting, which, is being sarcastic because Han Solo is garbage in that movie, one of its many failings. Its most underrated failing, I would say, is that Han Solo is completely neutered in the film.
Yes.
I disagree with that.
In first act, Han Solo is pretty fine, especially since he's a little delirious.
He's functional. I'm not saying neutered. Yeah, I mean neutered is that his presence is depleted, right? Not that he's like a weaker person.
He's way too upbeat in Return of the Jedi, which is a weird.
The whole movie's
a bit off character.
The whole movie's too.
Yeah, I really liked him in Empire.
Yeah, he
was snarky, flirtatious. It was awesome.
He carries that movie. He carries that movie in a lot of places.
He really. Vader and.
I think we should let Codex kind of illustrate some of his points.
Yeah.
And to kind of as a counterpoint. We've been bashing on the film for a while. I think we should let Codex respond to some of this. So let's I'm trying to moderate here.
Cook, brother.
The main reason I disagree that Han is somewhat neutered is he's basically growing up a bit. He's not on his own anymore. I say on his own. He has Chewie, of course, but he's not looking out for himself anymore. He has a wider thing going for him within the rebellion, especially he's fighting for literally his a future baby mother and the like, and he does see the rebel cause as an actual thing to fight for, exactly the freedom of the galaxy, and more or less Historicus emulated with Lando specifically. They're both very similar characters, just two are very different ways of doing things about these things.
I think you misunderstand my point. I don't mean neutered in the sense that he's like a softer person. I mean in the sense that his role in the story is like diminished, right? He doesn't like do much in the movie if you actually like pay attention, right? He's kind of like there for jokes and stuff mostly. Like Lando's more important both from a plot perspective and from just like a gravitas of his character perspective, right? That's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that Han Solo's like it's bad that Han Solo's a good person. Like that's ridiculous. That would be a ridiculous criticism. I'm not asking him to be like an edgy boy like he is like in A New Hope. I'm asking for the character to matter in the narrative. That's what my criticism is.
Well, that also applies to Empire too.
Yeah. Well, Empire. In Empire, he's
well. Hold on. It's mainly towards in Hoth when he's in the rebel base. There, he is still dictating. He is somewhat making commands here and there. Check on see Luke entered the other way. He didn't do that. He's very proactive, and he is. I would argue he's a bit more proactive in this film as well.
I disagree. I mean, it's
he's more of a boots on the ground kind of guy.
It's we're talking about Return of the Jedi, right? Like, it's not just that his role in the plan, which, you know, is he's nominally in charge, but like the drama of the stuff on Endor, and the stuff on Endor is awful. The drama of the stuff on Endor relies in like the Ewoks. Like C-3PO is more consequential to what's going on Endor than Han Solo is. That's just true, right? And like you could say he comes up with the plan at the very, 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 very end with the trick with the ATST. But like anyone can do that, right? He has Jesus Christ, someone crashed. You know, that's like, you know, that's what I'm talking about. You know, we can imagine like his most like poignant moment is like the scene where he like kind of is gonna give up on Leia because he doesn't know that Luke and Leia are siblings, which is a whole other thing that I just cannot abide. That's probably my hottest take, that I don't think the sibling reveal is good at all. But you know, he's not even a good supporting character anymore. He's like there because he has to be. Like if he had died on Tatooine or whatever, nothing he does is irreplaceable.
But the rebels will lose a good commander.
He is still the main leader of the rebel force that was sent to Endor.
Yeah, he can do that.
So he makes the executive decisions.
Yeah. And Han Solo does not make executive decisions he doesn't make up the plans. He gets captured, right? Mm-hmm. And the Ewoks bail everyone out, right? He's not even his decision to use 3PO, which would actually been really clever, right? It's Luke's idea to use 3PO, which again I've voiced my complaints about that whole concept a lot, but in terms of cleverness, his thing is he like fist fights a scout trooper. Mm-hmm. While Luke and Leia actually get the cool action scene. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, like to me, this is a very minor point. You know.
Yeah.
But no, I am in the camp that Han Solo is not well used in Return of the Jedi.
That's true. It doesn't really seem like he has much agency in Return of the Jedi, which is weird because he is the main leader.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
It would have been better if he were to like find a way to like strategize how to properly take out like certain Imperials, but everything just kind of
goes hold on. He does actually, because he gets the garrison in the bunker or the back door, which is what it is to be fair, out of the thing saying, "Hey, the rebels are being driven into the forest. You can come out now," or something like that. He literally just says that, and he knows Imperial code, so I would assume he would know how to do this.
Yeah, he does, but it's mostly the sense that everything up until that point, it seems like he just did not have much agency, which is weird because he is the main leader. You think he would have a lot more agency in regards to like how they would initially attack the rebel base or anything along those lines. Like he tricked that one scout trooper, but you think that it would be a little suspicious that it's so lightly defended. You think that would have at least set a few alarm bells in his mind, but no.
Jesus. Yeah, no. But that's again like, and my other point is, where is the gravitas in his character? Where is the meaning? What does he carry forward narrative? You know, he's there to like, if he's there to like help with the action scenes, anyone can do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Any random trooper can, you know, say, I didn't even know it was Han saying, "Oh, the rebels have been routed and they're fleeing into the woods." That could be anyone saying that, and Leia can come up with the plan, right? That doesn't mean anything. All right, so what uniquely about him is relevant to the story, right? Like what matters in Empire is that everything builds the most underrated scene in Star Wars, the carbon freezing chamber, where he, where it's he has to talk, and like his most heroic moment is him talking down Chewbacca because he's got to protect the princess now, right? And that's character. That's the moment. That's the glory. Not, I can trick I can trick like the mooks out of the base. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, it's not how relevant he is in the mission, which again, he's not that relevant. But I think it's, or like even like to compare it to A New Hope, where again he comes back at the end and like that's he closes the circle on his character.
Yep.
That's what matters.
He believes in something greater than himself.
Exactly. He chooses to not be cynical. He chooses to do the right thing. Fucking punk ass Vader.
So who here likes or prefers Return, and who here is against it? Just out of curiosity.
I'm
I like parts of Return of the Jedi better than I like New Hope, but I would say that New Hope is a better film overall because Return of the Jedi reaches really high up and then falls down flat in many cases, whereas New Hope keeps things relatively simple and doesn't screw up as bad. The only note I would say is the choreography, just by virtue of the constraints.
Yeah, the choreography is better.
I'm not going to bring
the
that
Jedi
up.
compared to New Hope. Nobody's gonna make an argument for the duel between Vader and Obi-Wan. It's a little awkward.
Agreed. Yeah, my vote. I think New Hope is much better than Return. No offense, Codex, and anyone who said that who agrees the other way around.
Yes. I also will say that it's really weird how Boba Fett had the broad idea to use his jetpack to get in close range of Luke Skywalker, even though it would have been far better to just blast him at a distance, because you're essentially putting yourself in danger because he has a lightsaber. What were you thinking?
Fly right at him and point my long-range rifle in his face.
Yeah.
George was going through a lot.
That's a limitation. That's a limitation of the technology of the time, though. I think we can be fair about things like that. I think we have to be.
Well,
Boba Fett is not the character in the movies that he is in the expanded universe, right? He's just a thug.
Yeah. That's one thing I'm going to say. I don't think Boba Fett is an actual character. He's just a hired gun. Basically.
No, Boba and Jabba
in New Hope.
Yeah, to me, Boba, and to answer Dunn's question, I am in the camp that A New Hope is like much better than Return of the Jedi, but I still think I'll defend things in Return of the Jedi. I will, believe it or not. But
yeah, there are things worth defending.
Yeah, exactly. Boba and Jabba to me are really interesting in that they're probably like the best examples. Darth Maul came later, but they're like the best examples of the expanded universe writers wanted to tell certain stories. But instead of making up actual OCs, they just use pre-existing characters, even though those pre-existing characters were kind of garbage losers. Right? Jabba the Hutt is an idiot.
No.
Instead, they turn him, instead they turn him into this criminal mastermind. It's ridiculous. And Boba Fett goes from being like a thug, a pretty crafty thug, and I like him, into being the best bounty hunter ever. And it's come on.
Well, he's not the best bounty hunter ever from A New Hope. What was presented in New Hope, but Darth Vader did specifically point out no disintegrations to Boba Fett, implying that this guy has a reputation that Darth Vader is aware of. That implies a lot of competence.
Oh yeah, of course. Oh yeah. Look, I'm not in any way saying that he can't be competent. What I'm saying is that the writers are using familiar characters as opposed to making up their own characters in the expanded universe. That's all. Right, I find that interesting. I think that's very true about Jabba. I think that's much more true about Jabba than Boba.
Yeah, now I'm not
Well,
really
plus,
aware
I don't
of
think-
what the EU does with Jabba or Boba Fett. I'm just basing it off of Empire Strikes Back.
I mean, I don't deny
I
that.
mean, technically, he is also in the New Hope in these special editions. but,
Technically,
like,
yes,
I mean-
technically, but I don't necessarily count that because, well, he doesn't really
he's
do
not
anything
characterized at
until
all. He's
Empire,
just
really.
he's just like
He's just
there.
there.
He doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, to me,
He's
to
not
me,
characterized at all.
the real point of comparison for Return of the Jedi isn't like really A New Hope. It's really The Empire Strikes Back, because like for me, the biggest failing of Return of the Jedi is that it does not like fulfill the promise of
Doesn't
Empire
deliver.
Strikes Back.
Yeah, it doesn't deliver.
Exactly.
What
There's
Empire
lots of
set up.
things that are just don't come through. They don't deliver on like the tonal evolution and the thematic evolution of Empire very well.
Yeah, and I think that's
They do
especially
in some
what a lot
places.
of people.
They do come close.
Yeah, and that's what I think a lot of people were craving after Empire Strikes Back was a darker, grounded story within the Star Wars universe. And Return of the Jedi offered the opposite of that.
Yeah.
So that's
That it did.
I think we haven't given Codex a chance to talk in a while, so he should be allowed to defend his position.
Yes.
Since-
Right.
So I
Because,
think
okay, let me get to the whole Boba Fett. Let me address the Boba Fett thing real quick. It's mainly the fact of Lucas kind of taking liberties with the inspirations he was kind of playing with exactly. Because he's, like I said, he's a hired gun. He's a threat, granted, but he is still a chum at the end of the day. He's not meant to be like this big thing half the time. It's kind of like a James Bond villain, like a side villain like Oddjob or Jaws, for example. He's not meant to be this imposing. Well, sorry, he is an imposing threat. Sorry, he's not meant to be this big honcho character specifically. He's meant to go out like a chump. And while that is a problem, and I will admit that is one of the main problems with that, I will admit.
What's your evidence for this, besides comparison to other things?
Well, it's how he's portrayed. He's kind of like a side villain to Vader from Episode 4. He's meant to be this imposing threat, but not really intimidating. Now, Vader's more intimidating than Boba Fett will ever be, exactly. That is very true.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not meant to be...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, the big role that Boba Fett plays is that he's the physical manifestation of Han Solo's consequences of not paying off his debt to Jabba. And it's already established that has a reputation Darth Vader is aware of. And he also hides in some like the trash like debris because he had a feeling that Han Solo would do something similar in order to actually escape. And he was right. He knows how to properly think inside his prey's head. He knows how to track them and hunt them. That implies a lot of competence and intelligence. And what he did during that battle between like Jabba's forces and of course Luke's forces was highly incompetent, because he obviously knows like a lightsaber is highly dangerous. The further you're away from it, the better. It's far better to just use a powerful weapon from afar than to try to like go in up and close like a moron. That's my biggest point. It's already established that this character is highly intelligent, but yet he made a really dumb decision that he shouldn't have made, and that resulted in his death. And it's also really weird that Luke doesn't kill.
I'm not denying that.
Yeah, it's also really weird that Luke doesn't kill Boba Fett as soon as Luke disarms him, because he's pretty much just abandoned Boba Fett on the same ship that Han Solo and Chewbacca are on, despite the fact that Han Solo can still barely see. So it's really weird. They just kill Boba by luck. I don't think Luke anticipated that.
I don't think so, to be fair. Yeah, but yeah, I'm not denying that. It does go out like a chump, but...
What if George Lucas is just dumb? And
that caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that.
It's just dumb.
It's just dumb. Like I said, look at my profile picture. He was going through a lot.
Yeah, like and just like I just kind of am like, what if he's just not very intelligent and is has really weird tastes. And
I'll say it
very
again,
strange
you know.
standards.
I'll say it. I said it before. He's really good at universe building, not very good at character work. Give that to Tony and Gan Dilroy.
Yeah, he's a good ideas guy, but needs someone else to really ground his execution.
Yeah, he's very good at building universe. It's like, damn, Star Wars is impressive. But the character writing, yeah, he's okay at it. We know this from the prequels.
Okay, and this is something I will say against A New Hope. We don't know who the hell Biggs is. And that's the
Biggs
thing
is
I'm
a
going to use.
big
That's the
fan.
deleted scene I'm going to use.
We don't need to know him.
We kind of do because it's well, one. It gives Luke motivations for leaving Tatooine before his parents and the droids show up. Of course, that's a different matter. But it also expands on how the Empire is tyrannical. Like I said, Luke's motivation for leaving Tatooine because he wants to join the Academy, which is the Imperial Academy, which is a bit strange because he hates the Empire, but that's a different matter. And he has always been a child.
No, that's pretty realistic.
Like he's, as far as I can see, the Empire has no moral association on Tatooine for Luke until his parents are killed.
Yeah, because he ultimately essentially just wants to be more than just a moisture farmer. He wants to essentially just explore the stars, and he has a bit more of a naive, like adventurous outlook on life. He even has like an Imperial shuttle, which implies that he doesn't really hate the Empire to such an extent that like Leia may, or someone really like entrenched within the rebellion would, because he doesn't really know much about the Empire at all. How would he? Like Owen may not really like the Empire that much, but then again, he barely knows what the Empire's doing half the time because he lives a very simple life. He's not looking up at the Imperial tyranny; he's looking down at his farm. So it makes sense. So he did. I don't like. It's not implied that he likes the Empire or anything, but I say he's more so indifferent based off his characterization.
Yeah, granted, it's kind of a blink and you miss it kind of thing. To be fair, it's just done away with, really.
And theoretically,
I will agree that I would have liked that deleted scene, but what we have works fine.
And theoretically, he could be going into the Academy to eventually join the rebellion, since that's usually what they do.
Yeah, or just get basic training.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, Biggs actually actually says to Luke, well, the reason I'm going to jump ship and join the rebellion because one of my friends at this academy basically was interrogated to death, essentially, and it shook him, essentially. It brought a new horizon to him, saying, well, hold on, no, this whole thing isn't cracked up to be. I want to see what the rebellion's doing. Why are they exactly? That's what I mean.
Yeah, like I will say that I would have liked to have a deleted scene, but what we have, like I said, works fine as is, as just a decent motivation for him to do something better beyond just moisture farmer, because it's ultimately like a growing up tale essentially. He doesn't really have too strong allegiances towards his current lifestyle and yearns for something better. But ultimately, he's still conflicted based off of the scene where he sees the two binary sunsets. One represents his decision to stay, the other represents his decision to go, and he's conflicted over that. So that's ultimately the basic root of his character that is established very well. That deleted scene would have had a little bit more nuance, which would have been nice. It definitely doesn't ruin anything. But what we have is still a solid foundation of who Luke Skywalker is and his motivation. So, yeah, that's my position on that. I wouldn't say it's a flaw against A New Hope.
Well, obviously, it's more impactful to Luke, really. That's because it's his last connection to Tatooine. Essentially, he's one of his best friends, if not possibly his only best friend.
Yeah, like he's the only person he really mentions, so this implies he must be his best friend.
It also would have made his death, Biggs' death at the end of the series more impactful.
Yes,
Right.
Exactly, that's what I mean.
Biggs not being in the movie doesn't hurt Luke; it hurts Biggs, right?
Yeah, it hurts Biggs.
And then if you actually watch the movie, right? If you actually go because the thing is, part of this I think is that we're poisoned by the fact that Han Solo is Han Solo. Because if you actually watch the movie, right? Luke moves from supporting character to supporting character, because first he's with the droids, and then he's with Obi-Wan, and then he's with Leia, and then he's with Han, and then he's with Leia, and then he's with the guy he's supposed to be the whole time, Biggs, and then Biggs dies, right? And that's kind of how you can see, because again, don't think about knowing Han is kind of ruins it, right? But Luke moves from supporting character to supporting character through the film, and then his last one dies, and then Han Solo comes back, right? And you can kind of see how if Biggs was there a little more, it would have made everything a little more impactful. And speaking of characters' deaths not being as impactful as they should, I think here's for me, one failure in Return of the Jedi, and I think this is where it would belong, because I think Empire is kind of perfect. I think Return of the Jedi needed to revisit Owen and Beru's impact on Luke, and specifically on their impact on his decision to save Anakin.
Well, that I also want to bring up the fact I think Leia should have at least had another scene where she had some downtime with Han to talk about Alderaan and how that really affected her, because her entire world literally blew up in front of her face, but she doesn't really mention it again afterwards.
So does Luke.
You think that it would have been a decent, which I guess is
he does have his godparents rather quickly, to be fair. Film-wise, I should say.
Yeah, but
A New Hope, it's too briskly paced. A New Hope's secret strength is its pace, right? And you can't have these scenes of intense mourning too much in that movie. It would it would make it a fundamentally different movie, right? So
kind of, because
it's okay if you revisit it later.
Yeah, but it is interesting because there is a scene dedicated to Luke mourning the death of Obi-Wan Kenobi, but it seems like he mourned for him a bit more than his own parental figures, which is a little weird.
Yes, I mean, to me, the real issue is that remember, he goes to save Vader, or his father, Anakin, against the advice of Obi-Wan and Yoda. That moral core has to come from somewhere. It has to come. It's not just people aren't just if I can be just totally cynical for a moment, people aren't just naturally good, right? They're, that doesn't just come from the ether. That comes from his upbringing, right? That's the thing that makes him different from his father. That he had a better upbringing than him. I'm not saying the Jedi are monsters by any means, but he had a much more stable upbringing, and that matters, right? So the scene where I am. Like I said this earlier, right? I am against the sibling reveal. I do not like it.
Yes, I agree.
I think that's garbage.
100%.
And I would replace that scene with the scene where Luke and Leia are talking. He explains to her that the reason he's going to save Vader, and he couldn't explain it to Obi-Wan because Obi-Wan wouldn't get it, where the reason he's going to save Vader is specifically because of the way, something he can give an anecdote or something about how things his aunt and uncle taught him about being a good person. And that's where you put that. Right, and I like the idea of Han and Jesus Christ. I like the idea of Han and Leia having a heart-to-heart about Alderaan. I like that too, because also the fact that Leia doesn't respond to the fact that Vader is her dad is just weird. And also this is another thing, right? Vader didn't raise Luke or Leia, right? He's not their dad. Bail Organa is Leia's dad, and it's ridiculous that the whole sibling thing is garbage. I can't. Driving, so my guy's going 1 million miles an hour. My cognitive faculties are occupied.
I'm fine with it personally, but I can understand why one would not like it. Because it is very unfortunate that in a galaxy full of like billions of women, Luke's first kiss was from his own sister. Oh dear.
To be fair, they didn't know at the time, but yeah.
I know, but it's really unfortunate.
I know, yeah.
It is, yeah.
Like, what are the odds?
Pretty bad.
Sussy writing.
Sussy
Actually, this
George.
is something I want to bring up about Alderaan. Why does Tarkin destroy Alderaan exactly? And why does Vader not question this?
Well,
Because Tarkin wants to prove a point, and because
Yeah.
Vader is not like functional, right? He's on autopilot. You can tell that because he's joking through the movie.
But he's also acting on the
Tarkin-
Emperor's wishes.
Well,
He's
well,
denying
Tarkin
the
holds-
Emperor's wishes.
Well, Tarkin holds the
What do you-
leash on Vader. Like,
I'm sorry. Can you explain what your point was about the Emperor's wishes?
Keep this in mind. Vader is there as the Emperor's hand, by and large. And he doesn't question, should you not inform the Emperor what you're going to do? Because this has massive ramifications, exactly. And Tarkin literally blew up a planet just over a point. Like, why? There's no need to do this. This is going to
Tarkin
incite
is
more
not
insight for any more galactic rebellion.
You're assuming that Tarkin is like a rational, a purely like actual like
It
moral
kind of
rational.
is a little bit.
Guys, you're looking at it from a writing perspective. Remember, this is the 70s or 77, and they just wanted to show big planet going boom.
well, not really.
This is
There's a-
film.
There's a
value
practical there's a
There's
practical function
for it.
to it. Like he has
Because
to test it
ultimately, like,
somehow.
And on top of that, Tarkin has executive power over the Death Star. And the main reason why the Death Star was created was to blow up planets as a way to deter people from rebelling against the Empire. That's why the Senate was dissolved the same day the Death Star was fully functional. Because they don't need the Senate anymore.
Yeah, Tarkin
Yep.
is callous. He doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, he doesn't care. Like, what's the main
And
purpose
the
of
thing is,
the
Vader
weapon?
ultimately-
He's not going to use it to threaten people. Like, he's
but-
fully of the belief that the rebels have nothing against this station, and he would be right if he wasn't aware of the exhaust port. But
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. Like there's, and as for why Vader does it, it's pretty. Like I mean, he cares even less than Tarkin does.
yeah,
Right?
he's the
Vader
second
is
most evil person in the
unconfusing.
galaxy.
Like
But surely
Vader has
they
Vader.
question this.
No,
Why would he?
He doesn't care about these people.
Surely
Like
he
Vader's
would.
not a moral man.
I
Right?
don't, why would he? Like, let's okay.
He
Pause.
maybe-
Codex. Why would he care? Please explain.
Because again, he's acting on the Emperor's wishes and gave Tarkin the Death Star to, obviously monitor, of course. But this is Tarkin's insight. This is his own volition. Why is he doing this? Political gain? One up the Emperor specifically, saying, "Oh, I have this big Death Star gun. I could literally take you over." Exactly. And clearly he doesn't question, and Vader doesn't question this, saying, "Should you not inform the Emperor of this massive decision you're going to do?" Because it's kind of a big deal.
Well,
It has massive
the Emperor-
ramifications, exactly, for the wider universe.
Well, the
Implicit-
Emperor will have
implicit-
trusted Tarkin to make executive decisions without his constant monitorization. That's why he allowed Tarkin to be the executive decision in the Death Star. Like
Yeah,
everything
implicit-
he does, the Emperor's fine with, as long as he doesn't blow up an Imperial oil planet that, like Coruscant, for instance, where he currently resides in.
The implicit assumption is that the Emperor agrees with this, right? And in the EU, this is
I
actually
don't
the case. Like
think it
no.
No, why wouldn't
You-
no,
Tarkin is like the Emperor's like, chief political theorist. Like that's who he is,
Yeah.
right? And even in the movie, like even like you can take like this is 1,000 different ways, right? Because in the original, this is a very fun fact, right? In the original novelization of A New Hope, the whole thing was that the Emperor was not in charge, right? The Emperor was a figurehead, and the real people in charge were the Moffs, who were like regional warlords. This is obviously not the case. We're going with what's actually in the movie, but in the movie, like, yeah, this is how bad. Like, yes, the Emperor. If let's assume like Occam's razor, right? If Darth Vader doesn't care to stop it, and the Empire / the Emperor has put Tarkin in charge of the Death Star, then yeah, the implicit assumption is that they're fine with what he's doing, right? If Vader cared enough, or was, and Vader's not stupid. I know he doesn't care, but I'm not saying he's an idiot. If Vader thought that this was going to be a bad thing for the Empire / the Emperor or whatever, he's fucking.
Then why do it then?
Why didn't he do
Because
it?
there are no consequences.
Well, why does he do it? Why does he let Tarkin do this?
Because he doesn't morally care. He's a moral coward. That's what Vader is.
Like ultimately, Tarkin is the one who holds Vader's leash. Vader can't really do anything against
Have a good one.
Tarkin, because that would have like severe ramifications between himself and Palpatine. Because Palpatine trusted the Death Star to Tarkin. He has no agency over this.
There's also the fact that, as far as I understand it, like they're functionally somewhat aligned with the Rebel Alliance, and functionally this is to punish. Yeah, and this is to punish Leia, who is a high-ranking Alderaan official, and
they have evidence that that Leia was trying to blow up the Death Star by stealing the Death Star plans. And since she's an official of Alderaan, it's implied that the bureaucracy of Alderaan is in support of her.
So, I think that it's kind of like just it works fine because
it works. Because it deters people from
culling.
Yeah, and it deters people from fighting the Empire or thinking they can do anything against the Death Star.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is. That's Tarkin's whole philosophy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, like we will make them afraid of us, and we're going to do it by how afraid of us should you be? Nothing will save you. Not being an important planet, not being a harmless planet, nothing. Right? That's the whole point.
Yeah, because by destroying the entire planet, the Empire believed that they would silence the entire galaxy into submission, because there's nothing that could really compare to their technology.
Yeah, that's the whole technocratic aspect of the Star Wars, right? And the critique of democracy in Star Wars, which is actually one of the more resonant things in it. Anyway, I have to drop off temporarily, but if you guys are still going in 20 minutes, I'll be back.
Okay, we'll probably still be talking.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's give Felix a chance to give a rebuttal.
Yep.
Well, also, here's another thing about this. How can you keep the Death Star secret when it's literally the size of a small moon?
Well, the universe is insanely huge, and the distances between planets is astronomical. Something like in our universe, that would be very believable not to find something like that, depending on where you hide it.
Like the size of the moon is nothing compared to a lot of other corporeal planets or celestial bodies across the galaxy. Like it's not, if it was like a solar system, then I'd say that it'll be a little weird, a little tricky to hide that. But this is an entire galaxy. That's the scope.
I think also,
and considering the Empire has the Empire has the resources.
They also don't care about it being a secret now that it's finished.
Yeah, they only cared about it being a secret while it's being under construction.
Yeah. And think about this. Why would they use the Death Star on Alderaan? A demonstration, a flex, basically, a threat. Yeah. You have a weapon of mass destruction. You test it, and then you show Leia, prove a point to everybody, the entire galaxy, what you're capable of as the Empire now, thanks to this mega weapon. That's why they used it. I thought that was pretty obvious.
Yes.
And there's also the filmmaking aspect as well. There's also that. Both go hand in hand. That this is a movie to amaze audiences with spectacle, so you got to find somewhere in there to shoot the Chekhov's gun. And so you have a planet blowing up. And wow, audience, wow, that's so cool. That it both go hand in hand.
I think there was a better way to do it, other than using a big Death Star weapon. Because this is something I want to say about this. I don't think dissolving the entire Galactic Senate was a good idea. What I mean by that is, at the beginning of the film, why doesn't Vader specifically say the rebels have the princess? This is before even the Rebel Civil War even happened, or even was going on specifically. No one's signing with the rebels at this point. They have a very small team for what they're implying. Why doesn't Vader just do that and turn the whole thing around its head, saying, "Hey, the rebels have the princess"? Because Alderaan has to go along with this.
Well, it's mostly the sense that they're under the impression that Alderaan is in support of the rebellion, because Leia herself said that she's on a supposedly diplomatic mission assigned by the planet of Alderaan. It's not like the rebels like kidnapped her or anything along those lines, and Vader could easily just spin the narrative.
But they control the narrative. They control the galaxy.
Well, they can't really control the narrative if we're referring to just Alderaan itself, because Alderaan is in support, so it doesn't really make sense to say that, like, oh, like, did you know the rebels actually kidnapped like your official, and then the Alderaan's like, oh yeah, of course we know that, even though the Empire knows that the Alderaan is in support of the rebellion, so it doesn't really work in that sense. Because what matters is just Alderaan's connection to the rebellion. They don't care about how other planets view Alderaan or the dynamic with Leia.
For me, it's basically just it's basically Hiroshima or Nagasaki.
I was trying not to make that, but yeah, I was thinking that this entire time. I was thinking that the entire time.
Like, they're not planning. Like, it's never stated that the Empire plans to blow up every planet in the galaxy. That's nonsense. However, they want to use it as a tool for submission because it's easier to control people under fear than the complex political maneuvering within the political senates. Because in the Senate, that's an environment you don't really have like absolute full control of, and they're fine with that for a short period of time to allow the Death Star to finally be constructed. And then now, as soon as that was created, okay, it's far easier to control the galaxy now under fear than like the nuances of political discussion. And on top of that, Emperor Palpatine is a vile human being and is completely fine with committing genocide across multiple planets.
We see this in our own history that leaders like that, especially like totalitarian leaders like Star Wars' Empire, they're not going to do things a meticulous way. They're just going to go full brunt force and just do like forced submission tactics.
Yes. It is very much in line with a lot of historical empires, like Mongolian Empire, for instance. After they invaded China, they managed to enslave a lot of engineers, and sometimes they would even like enlist engineers within China to create more powerful war machines and use that against many other Asian cultures. Instead of doing things diplomatically, they had the power to oppress them, and they had the means to facilitate that.
And you know what sucks? You know what I was thinking about with all the Death Star discussion? I was thinking, oh God, we're living in a nightmare right now because the military has essentially like a mini real life Death Star now. They have a damn laser beam that they use to kidnap Maduro that can make people bleed from their eyes. Lovely. That's fucking awful.
Yeah, that's not going to be exploited whatsoever.
Yeah, be right back. I'll just go to very quick. Maybe a second.
Yes, overall, I mean, yeah, like A New Hope does have problems, but the big core components that allow the plot to progress are pretty sound in terms of how they're displayed.
Yeah. Well, guys, I'm actually going to depart myself. I haven't written in a while. I think I'm going to go do that. Probably not immediately. I need to get into the zone, but I should get back to writing again. And as well as learning music production, which I've also been doing. So this was fun. I'll go and go take care of all that stuff.
All right. See you later, my friend.
Yep. Yeah. Final conclusion for me. Return, not very good. Watched it recently, not good at all, except for a few moments. A few moments their peak. A New Hope is better in my opinion.
Yeah.
Anyways, see you everyone. Have a good one.
Adios. Well then there are two.
All right.
Until Coco arrives. I mean, there's still like the third act of Return of the Jedi I want to discuss because that's like the big component that has a lot
I hate
to
the
dissect.
Yeah, the Ewoks suck ass.
Yes, they do. The Ewoks ruined the Empire. The Empire was pretty competent in A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, and then the Ewoks showed. I was like, oh, it turns out the Empire just filled a bunch of bumbling morons.
I think also it's a big part of it is there's no weight behind it. When they knock the stormtroopers over, it feels like they're just hitting them lightly.
Yeah, I do not believe the fact that a bunch of Ewoks with stones and sticks can take down like a technologically superior force such as the Empire, and I have no idea why the Empire, despite being an entire garrison, just runs in fear, even though all they have to do is just stand put and fire, and they would have won. Instead, they just run like cowards.
Well, to be fair, the Ewoks aren't necessarily winning throughout the fight for the majority of the time. It's the ATSTs that's causing more of the damage, really, and the only way they can technically counter the ATSTs is literally the logs. That's it. That's all they have.
Well, the thing is that I'm talking about when the Ewoks initially popped up and ambushed Imperials, and this was far before they managed to sabotage and repurpose an ATST. Instead of the Imperials just using their blasters to fire at them, they all flee. It's just because a bunch of like arrows and like stones are being thrown at them. It's really weird. And this isn't just like a small group of Imperials. This is like 70. Like they should have just shot them all.
When you see like a whole bunch of these primitive savages, let's be matter of fact about this whole thing.
They do not.
Wouldn't you be kind of shocked to see how many there are?
And they're also cannibals.
Necessarily?
But they're also carnivorous.
Yeah, cannibals too.
They'll cook
cannibals, but yeah, they're cannibals. But they're only intimidating if you get trapped. But the thing is, if you're out in the open with like 60 other of your men with blasters, and you see a bunch of teddy bears trying to like attack you, you shoot all of them to death. Shoot all of them to extinction. Like, I don't understand why that would enlist fear, because they're so small and they're little cuddly creatures, and my word, you can just like kick them like a soccer ball and they'll probably die. Like the height differentiation between is like a big display of like power in this instance. Like if you see a bunch of midgets try to attack you, you do not feel threatened if you have a bunch of like brothers in arms with blasters. Like it's not believable.
I mean, can we all agree that C-3PO is probably the only war criminal in this entire thing?
No, I think
he did let you sell it.
No, I think Chewbacca would be another contender somewhat. I mean, a war criminal in the eyes of the Empire, yeah, because essentially, like, one Imperial just ordered, like, Chewbacca to freeze, but instead of that, Chewbacca just threw something at him, and he fell to his death, so that was hilarious. He gave him the chance to live, but yeah, did nothing as soon as Chewbacca was actually moving around, trying to throw something at him. It is funny. Adios. Yes. And I will say it's the entire plan surrounding essentially like the space battle that initiates during the third act doesn't make up much sense either, because Lando, Calrissian, and Admiral Akbar have no idea that Han Solo was successful in his mission to actually blow up the shield generator. Instead, they just assume he was capable of doing so in the time that he was given, and the just Admiral Ackbar just sends the entire fleet to Endor. And
they do say it's their only chance to do this, exactly, because, well, again, the Emperor wants them to do this half the time. He wants it, and this is why it's so out of the open, specifically, and why it's such a more or less a decrepit state half the time. Now, you could make the argument that the rebels aren't necessarily a military force. They're a hodgepodge of other things, exactly, with other things piling into them. They're basically the things from Battlestar Galactica in that case. They're just remnants of bits and pieces they can find and scavenge what they can do.
Not really. Like at this point, it's definitely implied that it has become like a fully functional military because a lot of rebel cells joined due to the fact that there's a lot more aliens that have now actually participating in their fight against the Empire. And every ship that they deployed against the Empire has a lot of guns. These are military vessels. And the fact that they even have like a hierarchy within like the military, like an admiral, like generals and like commanders, it is definitely a military branch.
Yeah, it's possible, but
it would have been a lot better if since they managed to steal like one Imperial shuttle, why couldn't they just steal another Imperial shuttle that also had coordinates to Endor? Since Endor would have a lot of Imperial activity, finding another Imperial shuttle with coordinates to Endor would not be very difficult. And the reason why this would be very vital is because all you have to do is just send that Imperial shuttle, like after Han Solo reached Endor, just to check to see if the shields are up on the Death Star before sending in the entire Rebel fleet. Because if the shields are still up, then the Rebel fleet is screwed. So I don't know why they didn't do this extra layer of due diligence, considering Admiral Ackbar is supposed to be a highly intelligent admiral. Like, these would be highly competent individuals. That would be a far safer maneuver of checking.
Well, by and large, I think the Emperor just wants them to get just that close and then just twist the knife a bit, saying, you failed at the last minute, you pathetic weaklings, and the like.
I have returned.
Yeah, well, I'm merely referring to, like, from the Rebels' POV, because they have no idea that this is a trap. Like, they're really sloppy in how they handle it, and they shouldn't have, since everything is at stake here. Like, if they lose, the rebellion fails. You think that he would have added, like, an extra layer of due diligence and caution before sending in the entire Rebel fleet without any confirmation over the fact that the Death Star's shields are down, because he had no way of properly, like, confirming that at this time, because Han didn't contact them yet.
Yeah, like I'm sorry, I'm coming in last minute here, but like this is, I think, a relic of like Lucas, and I'm not gonna just totally, I don't want to just totally rip him here, but Lucas's writing for like that part of it is like, it's almost like a Wild Western or like a war, or like a regular war movie where like people have to like make. Wait, what? Not just serial.
That's.
It's not just serial. I'm not making that argument. What I mean is that, like, you know, like, oh, well, it's not that, like, you know, these are vast military apparatuses with like intelligence and like all those. It's like, no, like, you hear that the enemy is in this town, you go to the town to fight them. Oh, it's a trap, right? It's very odd, right? And it's you know, it's not an archaic way of thinking about war. It's just like a simple way of thinking about war. You know, the whole thing is like, you know, like there's no campaigns, there's no grand strategies we know about in the war. You know, the Battle of Hoth, the incredibly impressive and devastating Battle of Hoth is like, it's like a raid on a outpost. Right, and the idea is that like this is like, well, Hoth somehow like this devastating defeat to the rebellion.
Yeah, well, at least Hoth made sense, like from a tactical standpoint.
Oh yeah, I'm not disputing that. I mean, I like the battle plot. I do.
The big issue
Yeah.
with Bell of Endor and Return of the Jedi is that it makes the rebels incompetent, and the only way for Palpatine's plan to work is if the rebels are incompetent, which is unfortunate.
I agree, and also, it also makes Palpatine seem incompetent.
Yes, for assuming that the rebels are incompetent, despite the fact that they blew up his initial Death Star. You think he wouldn't underestimate them now? Like, they blew up my first Death Star. Might as well take these guys a lot more seriously.
Exactly. And also, like, how do they have, how are they supplying these ships? And like, there's like a whole geopolitical and logistic dimension to the conflict that is just not addressed, right? To use just to compare it to the Clone Wars, right? The Clone Wars work because like there are planets actually splitting off from the Republic, right? So it makes sense that there's this catastrophic thing happening. There's just like this cataclysmic war about to happen. It's like the rebels are just like hanging out in space, and they have like sympathizers, kind of, but not really, but maybe. And I want to be very clear. That's kind of also true in A New Hope. I'm not trying to make this a thing against Return of the Jedi specifically. I think A New Hope is very like I can criticize A New Hope, pretty thoroughly. I think it's a very simple movie. I think it's a very unsophisticated movie.
I'd say it's like still a competent film, all things considered.
No. It's. I would argue that it is the best action adventure movie ever. Like the best, with the possible exception of like unless you wanted to get things like Indiana Jones and things like that.
I see that the Lord of the Rings films are all better than New Hope.
I think that their strengths are different. I think that like what makes A New Hope, the Lord of the Rings are like better is that like they touch on things bigger than like just pure action adventure, right? But if you're looking at like just like, oh, we're going on like a really crazy quest, New Hope is where it's at, right? It's also paced. Like I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, the pacing is phenomenal.
The secret of A New Hope is its pace.
Yes.
That's why I would not want a scene where Luke mourns his aunt and uncle more. It's why I wouldn't, it's why like I kind of get cutting out the big stuff. It's usually important to that film strength. Mm-hmm. Whereas I do Lord of the Rings is slower, right? They're more epics than they are action adventure films.
There's a lot more of like a character analysis as well, more so than Star Wars, because the characters of Lord of the Rings, even though a lot of people say they're very simple, they're actually a lot more complex if you dig deeper than with the eye. But with A New Hope, it pretty much is what meets the eye in terms of depth.
Yes. That is true. Like if the rest of Star Wars didn't exist and we just had A New Hope, A New Hope would kind of be like, I think the best comp for it is like Die Hard, where like it's clearly a superlatively excellent film, but it's like, once you've seen it and once you kind of thought about its smarter aspects, it's kind of like, okay, like it's good, but it's like that's it, right?
It's simple.
Yeah, exactly. It is, and I will levy that as a criticism against it. Like I think it's a very intellectually and philosophically disposable film. I do actually think that. I do think that about A New Hope, and I like it a lot. I think it is Empire that elevates Star Wars. I do think it is Empire Strikes Back that elevates.
I agree.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Empire is essentially what gives the Star Wars IP a lot of meat to its bones.
Yes.
There's a lot more going on than just having a fun adventure all the time. No, we can explore darker themes too.
100%. 100%. It's not even like a question.
That's why I love Andor so much. Anyhow,
that's a different conversation. But
yeah,
I mean,
it's a fine show. What it is, but yeah.
I just love how they pretty much treated like the rebellion and empire, and the writers were like, okay, what if these were like realistic factions that actually had like proper governmental like responsibilities and functions, and just analyzing both from like the top bottom perspective and the logistics behind it. I love that.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I'm just thrilled. Like, I think that one of the best things about Tarkin is that he's not a Force user. It's so refreshing. It is in hindsight so refreshing about him.
Yeah, it's what makes him really interesting, especially since he essentially holds the leash to someone who is like physically more powerful than he is, but because of his political status, Darth Vader can't do anything about him, and that's what makes Tarkin extremely fascinating.
Yeah, no, he's great. I think he's fantastic.
I love him.
He's great. I love Tarkin.
I'd argue that he's probably like the main villain of A New Hope. And
yes, he actually is. He actually is because Darth Vader
is the main villain.
Yeah, because Darth Vader is basically like the mad dog that Tarkin deploys to do his work.
Vader is just I like there's hidden things. Like Vader is just a goon in the New Hope, right? Yeah, but the funny thing, the fun part in A New Hope is that if you're watch it, you notice that Vader is still the more competent of the two because he's the guy who gets the tracking device on the Falcon and lets them escape.
Yeah, he's the one who devises the plan, and Tarkin viewed it as justifiably very risky because this is something that we don't have full control over. And so it makes sense that he'll be a little hesitant to initiate the plan, but he understands the value behind it and essentially orders. He orders.
No, he is in charge of the villains in that movie. That's not even a question.
Well, yeah, like Tarkin would have been the reason why the stormtroopers would have been ordered to deliberately miss their shots when they encountered Han, Luke, or Leia.
Yeah, exactly.
That wouldn't have been Vader. That would have been Tarkin.
Well, Tarkin has to approve the plan.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. He will approve the plan, and then is the one who executed that order. Darth Vader wouldn't have the privileges to execute.
That leads into a more interesting question where we begin to say, what if that's not the case? What if Vader does it, and what if Vader asks for forgiveness and not permission? Let's say, right? Because you can also read it that way. I'm not saying that is what happened. I'm just saying there's interesting ways to think about that.
Yeah, based on the film itself, it seems that Darth Vader pitched a plan to Tarkin, and Tarkin approved of it, and then afterwards he ordered all of his men to just deliberately make sure that these guys remain alive, so that way they can
just
make it seem like it seem like they left with a daring escape, but in reality they just wanted them to take them to Yavin.
Exactly. Right.
Which is why a lot of people say that the main characters in The New Hope have plot armor is a really dumb argument because that's kind of the main point of their escape and making it seem like they're on the verge of death at every turn, but in reality, they were never intending to kill them.
No, it is explainable why they escape. Them escaping the Death Star is not unexplained in the film.
Yeah, and unfortunately, despite the fact there's a scene that explicitly stated that all this is part of the plan, a lot of people still assume that stormtroopers are just incompetent, and then they eventually became incompetent.
That is the return of the Jedi's fault. I firmly believe that.
Yes.
It's also the fault of it's the fault of the writer.
Yes, Lucas is a writer.
And it's also weird that that the whole idea, right, is that the stormtroopers are actually the elite forces themselves, and there's actually regular forces who the regular troopers.
Yeah, the Imperial Guard.
Well, there's an Imperial Army and there's an Imperial Navy, and they have regular soldiers, right?
Yeah, we do that in Andor.
Exactly, right. And then the soldiers are the best of the best, and it's but they're not used that way. Right.
Oh, you have to finish episode 12 of season 1 at Andor Crimson. You're going to be very pleasantly surprised.
I mean, if they have that, then I'll be thrilled, which is fine with me.
Stormtroopers are competent in that episode, Crimson. It's so beautiful. They kill so many people.
I get it.
Yeah, okay. I think I beat this dead horse a bit too much now. Let's call it here. Exactly. I'm willing to call it here.
Up to you guys. I mean, I'm fine with whatever.
Okay, there's still a lot to discuss, though.
I mean, there is.
So
I think I've been fully debunked about this whole thing.
I'm sorry, man. Yeah, did you feel like we were dogpiled?
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I wish Whiff stayed
a little bit. I won't lie about that. A little bit, but at the same time, it's just. I don't think I've made my points very clear.
Well, what? Let me ask you this: is your argument that Return of the Jedi is better than people give it credit for, or is that New Hope is worse than people give it credit for?
I
mean,
think
obviously
people give
competitive.
it. I think it's better that most people give it credit for, because the idea is, by and large, it's a mythology. Star Wars by itself is a mythology, by and large, and mythologies need to end. And as much as we've all been saying, how do I put this? 'Cause as much as Jedi does get a lot of problems half the time, the main thing is it is ultimately about redemption of Vader as well, but also redemption with Vader specifically, because primarily he did commit a massive genocide during the time of the Clone Wars specifically, and it's how, despite the hypocritical nature of the Jedi, which is telling him, there is no redeeming qualities to Vader or Anakin in this case. He has to die. Luke doesn't accept that because he sees the hypocritical nature of the Jedi. If that makes any sense. Or the Jedi code, so to speak.
How faulty the Jedi are is its own special discussion. I do agree that the strength of the movie lies in Luke.
Yes,
like that's the good stuff.
That is its biggest strength.
Yeah, like the thing.
Plus, Luke finds another way. Yeah, I will say Luke and Vader is the strongest part of this whole film. Like, it's the dynamic between good and evil, and light and dark specifically. That's primarily what it is.
Yeah, like that's the plot line that is capable of holding its weight against the plot lines in Empire Strikes Back. Like
I would agree a little bit of New Hope, because it is that is one of the things I will say. A New Hope is being simple is a pro and a con in itself, by and large.
Not really. Like it all boils down to execution. It can
be
and
obviously it executed quite well. Not denying that.
Yeah, but with a simple story, that means you have less variables to like control or monitor, which in turn allows you to execute your ideas a bit more clearly. So there is a benefit to very simple stories. They're not inherently like flawed because of their simple nature. It all boils down to like what you actually do with them. You can still say something really interesting with that simple idea, and A New Hope does so in many regards, especially since it leaves so much widely open from a world building point of view. Like it's a phenomenal foundation that essentially allows everything else to be created from it.
Yeah, it is. It is like I do think that A New Hope and Empire are the best setup and like evolution film ever, right? And it's why I think that I do think that the best way to watch Star Wars is actually to watch it's called flashback order, where you watch 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. If you're gonna watch all 6, right?
Yeah, if you watch all like 6, you watch like 4, there's 5, and then the prequels, and then Return of the Jedi afterwards.
Yes, because 4 is it is a simple story, and then you have 5, and it's like mind blowing how good 5 is, and then like you watch the prequels, and yes, the prequels are weaker films, but they they make sense, right? They sort of like fit into like the mode Episode 5 puts you in. Right.
It foreshadows the amount of tragedy that will befall young Anakin and his dynamic with Kenobi. So all the innocent interactions they have in The Phantom Menace hold like an emotional punch that's that The Empire Strikes Back essentially provides it.
Yeah, and you're keyed in to like pay attention to like all of like the darker undertones that are not quite as perfectly done as they should be, but they're still there in the prequels.
Yeah, the prequels are really weird because they're simultaneously more goofy than the original trilogy, but they're also darker at the same time.
Yeah, I mean they're also trying to do a lot. Yeah, they're weirdly trying to do more. Yeah,
they're doing a lot more. Yeah, it's a lot more complex, but at the same time, its complexity seems to be its detriment, because it leaves a lot of questions unexplained and plot holes created that George did not intend for.
I say this a lot about Episode 2, because this is I think Episode 2 is, and I've said this before. Episode 2 is the movie that's most hurt by like it's most hurt by like the genre that Star Wars is, right? Because Episode 2 wants to be like a political mystery
thriller. Yeah,
and
it wants
it's
to be
like an
Andor.
action movie. Instead, it's an action movie, and it's like this does not gel well.
It is funny knowing that like while George Lucas was writing the prequels, he thought he was writing Andor.
Yeah.
Because Andor does political thriller espionage far better than the prequels do, because it has a much nuanced understanding of how governments function and how they implement laws to exploit people in a way that actually is very believable. And a lot of the flaws that the Empire has in Andor are shared in amongst real life empires. So when they get defeated, they don't look incompetent. Rather, you praise the competence of our main protagonists for exploiting that weakness.
Yes. No, I get it. But yeah, I mean, like again, like A New Hope is not perfect, but it's like, yes, I do think overall it sticks the landing with Vader. And
it does,
Luke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have liked it to. I think it does fumble a little bit in regards to like it doesn't carry through exactly what Vader's trying to do in Episode 5 into 6 well, but that's like incredibly minute.
Mildly. I got the impression that after Darth Vader essentially gave Luke the choice to join him, and so we can overthrow the Empire and serve like father and son. And witnessing that Luke make his decision just to kill himself, I think Vader kind of gave up on his attempts to try to recruit him to the dark side until Luke just served himself later on in Return of the Jedi. It's like, oh, like he wasn't actually pursuing the fact that like he wanted Luke to like join him or anything along those lines, but rather since Luke gave himself up to the Empire, he wasn't opposed to that because that's something he.
I think you're misinterpreting
what I'm saying. There is a deleted scene where. Okay, granted, this is just a minor thing as well.
Will let Crimson Scorpio?
No, go. It's fine. Go.
Okay. Go for it, Codex. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. There is a deleted scene where Vader is trying to communicate with Luke. This is after this is after he arrived on the Death Star 2, and this is in conjunction with Luke building his lightsaber, well, the green one, at least anyway. And it does go into a bit more details of why he sends R2 and 3PO as well. So it's kind of a weird thing in that regard.
I think you're misinterpreting what I mean. Yes, this does have to do with the fact that Vader, he tries to get Luke on his side, and then he says no, and et cetera, right? He jumps down the steps. So Vader's plan in Episode 5 is not well understood, and I think that is fair. So Vader's plan in Episode 5 is to get to Luke before the Emperor does, right? That's what he's actually trying to do.
Yeah.
Once that fails, because Luke jumps down the shaft, he knows his goose is cooked because the Emperor now knows. The Emperor now, the Emperor will try to get to Luke through Vader, and he's done, right? And so, and there's, and the Emperor knows that Vader was trying to go behind his back in Episode 5, right? Because Vader does know that Luke Skywalker is his son in Episode 5. At the start of Episode 5, he knows that. That's a fact. That's a film fact. Okay. So, in Episode 6, what kind of needed to be there, and I know this needed to be there because there's a thing in the script and in the radio drama that touches on this, is a scene where the Emperor is like, I know what you were trying to pull, and you're done. You're gonna bring me your son. We're gonna turn to the dark side, and then he's gonna replace you, because that's what the Emperor's plan is. And Vader, because he's a moral coward, can't say no. Right?
Yeah.
That's what's happening in Episode 6. That's like the dynamic. That's like the tension in Episode 6 on Vader's end, right?
Yeah.
And that is not well delivered. And I think that is like one thing that's kind of weird and awkward in Episode 6. That's because it's kind of like they just want Luke to join the dark side, but like, why does this involve killing his father? Because it's evil, but like it's deeper than that, right? So yeah. but no, like the problem with episode 6 is like everything that's not that stuff. Endor sucks.
Yeah.
The middle act of episode 6 is atrocious. Like atrocious. Everything from Luke leaving Dagobah, and I'm including the planning scene. Everything from, and even though it's innocuous, right? Everything from Luke leaving Dagobah to Luke meeting with Vader is just tripe. It's trash. I think it's awful. The speeder bike chase is not that good. The Ewoks suck.
The speeder bike chase is awful. Yeah, and it's also really weird that Luke doesn't rejoin with Leia, even though he's fully aware of the fact that Leia is force sensitive and he can find out where she is. But instead, he decides to walk back to where Han Solo and his group were, which again would have taken like a solid 30 minutes, considering how far away they spent with the speeder bikes. And then he just asks them, like, "Oh, where's Leia?" Well, look, what you know, like you can feel Leia's presence. Why didn't you just rejoin with her first and then go back to Han Solo? It's really weird.
Everything about it is ridiculous. There's.
Leia also has some decent plot armor in that film too, because a stormtrooper had near the end of the film, a stormtrooper was fully capable of just killing Leia, like when she's right next to the the children area, and instead he just shoots her shoulder instead, which is weird because he had full vision of like her face and everything. But
okay, yes, that is weird and silly.
So it's a bit of she has a bit of plot armor there.
Yeah, it's just
it's also interesting by the fact that the one AT-ST that Chewbacca and the Ewoks hijack is the only AT-ST that survives. You know, the average Ewok would tell the difference between an AT-ST that was just hijacked and any other AT-ST.
I mean,
it would be really unfortunate. It would be really unfortunate if that AT-ST also got destroyed.
That'd be funny, but that's the kind of contrivance that you let slide in a movie.
These are like some smaller issues, but the bigger ones mostly stem from the fact that one, the Emperor wouldn't even allow the rebellion to even enter that children room. Like, why would they be that risky? And secondly, like after they managed to get all the rebellion to surrender, why don't they just kill them all? Like, it's not like the Vader needs Han Solo and Leia anymore. He already has Luke. No, why don't they just kill them all? What's the point of having prisoners?
I know there's lots of weird things in like the movies that, like the movies are a really interesting. Like, how do I put this? Like, and this is true to New Hope. So I want to make it very clear. Like the movies live in this world where things are more mysterious than we might expect them to be.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, perfectly good example, right? In New Hope, there's a scene where they go to the detention block and the guide has no idea what a Wookiee is, apparently. And it's like,
that's really weird.
It is weird, right?
You've been stationed here for how long? You don't know.
Like, how do you not like? I understand, like. You shouldn't know
about the local population.
Yeah, maybe you can't identify the difference between like a Siberian tiger and a Bengal tiger, but you should know what like a tiger is, right?
Yeah.
And same thing with like the Ewoks. Oh, the Ewoks are like this mysterious, like they're like these weird guys who the Empire had no idea about. And like how do they not like scout it out? And like
it's like, how the hell did the Ewoks have enough time to set up all those AT-ST traps? Like, and they're pretty close in proximity to that base, and we know how many Imperials are stationed at the base.
Yeah, let's ignore the fact that like everything about the Ewoks is garbage. I can't with them.
They do say it is the back door, so to speak.
Well,
no.
Yeah, there's a back door. I mean, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, the Ewoks leave into the back door rather than go through the main entrance, where I think it may be more implied it's more heavily defended.
Well,
but yeah,
more so the sense that like the AT-ST traps are pretty close proximity to the main shield generator, because it essentially hinges on the fact that they were expecting AT-STs to at least traverse in this area to begin with. And so, like, how the hell did a bunch of little guys have enough time to build these traps unnoticed by the Empire?
Yeah.
Given how many Imperials
Yeah.
are located.
Yeah, and how the hell, and like, there's a reason people don't use rocks and slings against, like, tanks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just like it. There's lots of like.
I can believe that Ewoks, given how many there are, could make a trap like that. But considering how small they are, it would take it a long time. And the more time you take on making a trap, the higher likelihood you have of being discovered. Especially in a place that's just crawling with Imperials.
Yeah, it's like the Ewoks speak to like tons of like sociological and socio-political pretensions that occupy Lucas's mind that just repugnant when you actually like think about them.
He just wanted a culture that was drastically inferior in comparison to the Empire, like technologically speaking, and yet still win because he says so.
Which is ridiculous. Like it's fucking gross.
They're the Viet Cong, don't you know?
Don't get me started.
The Empire represents America.
Well, I argue why it's the Ewoks, not the Wookiees, as originally it was going to be the Wookiees in the original draft. Is because he wants to
been far better,
somewhat distance himself from the holiday special. To be fair, a little bit.
Yeah, that would have been a lot better, but
that would have been marginally better. But my critiques would still be the same. Like,
well, Ewoks at least have some decent technology. Like the crossbows, at least, are capable of shooting lasers.
If everything else about the Wookiees were the same, but they were just Wookiees, then I would have a problem, right?
Well, yeah, that's fair. But like, if they were to implement like the same crossbows that like Chewbacca has, and like, considering they're really big and tanky, they would probably sort of take like. It's believable that they could take like one or two like blasters near like the rib and still kind of survive.
I mean, yes. You can, yes. It would make things where they beat them up, like they physically like beat them with sticks better. But if the scenes where they beat them with 3PO was there, that would not be better if they were Wookiees. If the scenes where they like use catapults to defeat ATS. Granted, they don't actually work that well against the ATSTs, but they like those stupid like log trap. Like, is the fucking ATST made out of tin? Watching.
I mean, considering it's a mass-produced vehicle, it might not be made with like very like durable material. To be fair, but still,
like. We're talking about a military grade vehicle here.
Yeah.
Right. Imagine a tank, imagine like a basic tank being defeated by something like that.
But to be fair, like a tank has a lot more mass than that of an ATST. The fact that ATST has to walk around,
but they're not
center mass, like very small.
But like the issue isn't that like
and it's very hollow inside too.
Okay, so like the tanks are actually very hollow inside too.
But they have a very durable material, like exterior, because of its large center of mass.
We don't have to get into this. We don't have to be.
We don't need to be super. We can kind of go for the broader like.
The point here is that Ewoks are lame, right? Like that's my point. The Ewoks are lame. I would argue that even that they're immoral. I can't stand them. I cannot stand them. I think
this is something I always had. I always had a problem with the Wookiees as a culture. Really, how are they technologically advanced? To be fair,
I have no idea. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah,
it could have just been that. It could have just been that. It could have just been that. Chewie is. What is it?
I don't understand.
Well, basically, it's
like how are the Wookiees as a species able to understand technology or manufacture technology specifically?
For me, I was just like
in the prequel, it's implied they have like flyers and bombs and the bowcaster, of course.
They are a space.
Well, to be fair. They are allied with the Republic, though, so they might have been getting a lot of materials through trade.
But they had them way before the Galactic Civil War happened.
Well, I'm talking about
they're implied to be a spacefaring race.
yeah.
But the
Yeah,
more
they're not-
I would argue the more primitive than the Ewoks.
Why would you
I
why would
disagree.
you argue that? Like, why would you argue that? Like, what evidence of that is there?
Well, they're
Based
not.
on what we see
They're
of
not really
Kashyyyk in
technologically.
Revenge of the Sith.
Like in Revenge, is your argument that they're not technically advanced in Revenge of the Sith? I don't understand your critique here.
No, the Wookiees by and large are a primitive race. By and large, they're very very much a savage race, similar to the Ewoks in that regard. Exactly.
Where are you?
So I don't really understand
don't know.
how they have
I'm not trying to come down hard on you. I want to know where you're getting this from. Like, where are you getting this from?
They.
Because
It's a bit
Chewbacca's
questionable
just.
how.
Yeah, but where are you getting this
It could be-
information from?
It could be that Chewbacca is just an anomaly among Wookiees.
Yeah, like he doesn't need to represent all Wookiees, just like how Jar Jar doesn't represent all Gungans.
He does not, and I'm not saying that he does or does not. I'm asking where is this textual evidence that the Wookiees are somehow a primitive species?
It's just
slash
the
culture
mannerisms.
slash faction?
Well, just because they have different mannerisms doesn't necessarily mean that they're more like barbaric than something like the Ewoks. They just have a different, unique way of speaking.
Yeah, but where
It might
where-
be primitive for us because we don't understand their language, but it is a distinguishable language that even Han Solo can understand.
Yeah, are you like getting this from like? Are you using like something that's not in the films for this?
No, it's in the films.
You're talking about so then the only time we see Wookiees, is in Episode 3.
like
that-
that's like Chewbacca, just like the
Yeah, besides Chewbacca, forget Chewbacca, right?
Yeah,
And they seem to have only like basic technology. Like they have flying
yeah.
machines, but that's kind of the extent of their tech.
Well, their flying machines also have like little like turrets you can man, and they shoot lasers too. So it's a weird mix between advanced tech and like low tier tech.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
It looks like it's kind of like more like they act more like helicopters than hovercraft.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're still clearly advanced. Like it's like
Yeah, like the
it's
mere
not-
fact that they were even able to like establish like trade negotiations with Republic makes them a pretty advanced society comparison to Endor.
Yeah, I mean, like there's no evidence that they're like actually primitive. They just don't wear clothes.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't think they really want to wear clothes because they're so fluffy.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. A
Mm.
great joke in Chihuahua Chicken where it's like you were just naked this whole time. Love that joke.
I well, yeah.
Mm.
I mean, if it's not for to cover up the privates, then I guess that's fine.
But no, the Ewoks, and like I said, but the Ewoks were, I mean, the Wookiees, again, if you replace the Wookiees with Ewoks and everything is exactly the same, and they are this primitive race of people eating savages, then yeah, it's just as bad. It's just as bad.
Yeah, it'll be a bit more believable because at least there's like that intimidation factor. Like
Yeah,
if you got a bunch of like Wookiees, like as we're as numerous as the Ewoks we saw in Return of the Jedi, then yeah, I could at least understand how a handful of Imperials could just flee in terror because these guys are like taller than you. They're obviously a lot more aggressive than you. They have like pretty powerful, like well, their weaponry may not be very advanced, but just the intimidation factor is there.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it would. Yeah, they'd be physically more formidable, but like beyond that, it doesn't change any. It wouldn't change any of my like actual critiques.
Well, it won't change anything necessarily.
Also done. I don't know if you saw this or you glossed over it, but in the Star Wars Jedi, I saw something profoundly moronic. It's so funny. It's vaguely related to Return of the Jedi because it does reference a character in Return of the Jedi. So I just think it's just really funny to show you.
Mm.
Yeah, I've seen that. Because George Lucas has no creativity and is not competent in terms of certain aspects of writing.
What does it mean, random Hillary Clinton, or does that mean like she helps her husband diddle kids. I don't know.
Don't
Oh
hurt him.
my.
Don't hurt
Oh
him.
dear. Just look at this. I like how they're using
Yeah,
deleted scenes as a reference for like this character as well. Like, also in both instances, she's in a very like calm, like controlled environment, surrounded by people she agrees with. But a lot of people say that Andor season 1 and 2, she's a bit well, she got character assassinated just simply because she's a lot more emotional now. And to be honest, why wouldn't she be? Her entire world is falling behind, like in front of her eyes. She can't trust anyone. Of course, she'll be paranoid all the time. Like nothing really works out for her. And if when the few instances where it does work out for her, she has to pay a very significant price. Even that price has consequences to it.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah. Any other thoughts, Code? Sorry if you felt like you were dogpiled. I probably should have kept it to a little bit.
Not
more
really.
limit.
I think I kind of dragged this on a bit too long than it needs to be.
No, it's fine. Yeah, sorry, dude. It's just
That's
like yeah, I should have moderated a bit better, maybe. Anyway, I think you did a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. I
don't think I did.
Yeah, I hope it didn't seem like too heated or anything. Like this is solely for fun.
Oh no, not still.
Yeah.
Look, how about we can all discuss how awful Fall Season 2 is?
Oh god, yeah.
I think that's something everyone can agree on is terrible, except for like Trip. Maybe.
Yeah, that's something we can all agree on.
What season 2?
Fallout.
It's Fallout Season 2.
Okay.
Also,
Yeah.
before we wrap up, Don, do you want to show the audience this glorious image?
Yeah.
Now.
Oh yeah, Melvin the moron. The Knights of
Okay.
Oh yeah. I don't know how to make it this. I don't know.
I don't know what
the
to make
Knights
of
of
it either.
Melvin are one of the most profoundly moronic YouTubers I've ever seen, up there with Patrick Willems.
Yeah, look, view it
That's
this way,
saying a lot.
Don.
Wow.
I hate both of them. Like both Patrick Willems and that guy are profoundly stupid people.
Also, Krypton, you'll be more confused after watching the entirety of Andor and by looking at that image because there's nothing to imply that Luthen committed sexual assault.
Yeah, it's what I do
But he
think Andor's
thought-
Defined series. Nothing was insinuating that at all.
Yeah, because like Knights of Melvin made a joke about how Luthen sexually assaulted his ISB mole known as Lonnie because Lonnie's just constantly intimidated by him. It is so funny. Maybe the reason why Lonnie's intimidated by Luthen is because if his network is compromised in any regard, the first thing Luthen's going to do is kill him and his family because they know a lot, or at least Lonnie does.
Yeah. Probably, yeah.
Yeah, look at it this way, Don. By watching and finishing Andor Season 2, you can laugh harder at these Andor haters. You bring more joy in your life.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll just probably just get madder. I imagine. Okay.
I honestly, I think it'll be more
I
fun.
guess we'll
because
go
I'm
with
not
a draw,
even
I suppose.
Yeah, I'm not even mad at a lot of these accusations because they're just founded on nonsense.
Yeah.
It's honestly hilarious because a lot of these guys just have a clear bias for the prequels and essentially view like Andor as somehow like anti-George Lucas, and that's also a bad thing. But I would argue that it's not
major
problems. Even though I'd argue Andor is more in line with George Lucas's vision than even like the prequels are, just merely like basing it off of how it's derived from the original trilogy and the themes it expands upon. It's more
Right.
respectful if anything George Lucas made than a lot of things George Lucas himself made, and yet somehow a lot of people think it's anti-George Lucas because it's grounded and gritty and like darker, when yet similar complaints have been made about the prequels.
Yeah.
It's so funny. You either die a hero or live long else to see yourself become the villain.
Yeah, what can
Yeah,
you do?
Indeed.
These prequel apologists have become the very people that hated the prequels. It's very fascinating.
Yeah, I
Anyhow.
would concur. But yeah, I think you defended your point well. I think that it's just like there are a lot of good things in Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi kind of, I think that the main thing is just the Luke and Vader scenes overshadow all of the rest of the crap.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I say Return of the Jedi is better than Episode 1 and 2 of the prequels, but I say it's like on par with Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, that's fair. I would say it's fair. I would say that's fair.
Mm-hmm. It's
All right,
both
we'll go to
of those
draw.
are really bad.
Yes.
Yeah, well, all right. So in essence, we're going to do the. Ladies and gentlemen, we decided it's a draw.
Again.
Thank you all for coming.
All
You've
right,
been
go
great.
to draw.
See you soon.
Adios.
Take care.
All right. See you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.